I exposed my ex for sharing my intimate photos. Was I wrong for ruining his career? Hey Reddit, I've been going back and forth on whether I did the right thing, and I'm hoping some of you can give me your thoughts. So, here's the deal. I, 28F, have been out of a relationship with my ex, 31M, Tim, for almost a year now, but things have taken a turn I never expected. Tim and I dated for about 2 years, and like any relationship, it had its ups and downs. But I never thought he was capable of what happened next. He shared intimate pictures of me without my consent. I don't mean just sending them to friends. I mean posting them online. He leaked them onto a platform where they were shared widely, and it quickly spiraled into a huge scandal. At first, I was devastated. It felt like my whole world had been torn apart, and I wasn't sure how to move forward. But after talking with friends and family, I made a decision. I exposed him for what he did. I reported it, I contacted his employer, and I made sure the story was out there. His career, his reputation, everything was ruined, and I didn't feel bad about it at the time. But now, I'm questioning myself. I know what he did was unforgivable, but did I go too far by exposing him and essentially ruining his life? Was it worth it? Or am I the asshole? Let me start by giving you some background. Tim and I met when we were both in college. He was charming, funny, and seemed like the perfect guy at first. We clicked immediately. We had a lot in common, and the relationship progressed smoothly. Everything seemed fine for the first year, and I was genuinely happy with him. I trusted him completely. We had a solid bond. But as time went on, things started to change. Tim became more controlling. He would check my phone, get upset if I went out without him, and would occasionally make comments about my appearance and the people I interacted with. At first, I thought it was just him being protective. But then the comments turned into more frequent arguments, and eventually, I started feeling isolated and depressed. It wasn't a healthy relationship, but I stayed because I still loved him and thought things would get better. One night, after a particularly bad argument, Tim apologized and convinced me to take a trip with him to clear the air. Things seemed fine at first, but after we got back, I started noticing strange behavior. He would become distant at times, and I would find myself asking why he was acting so strangely. I had no idea what was coming. It all came crashing down when I found out that Tim had shared intimate pictures of me. I had no idea at first. I didn't find out until a friend of mine saw them online and texted me saying, "Hey, I think you need to look at something." I clicked on the link she sent, and I felt my world collapse. There they were. Pictures I had shared with Tim in private, images that were never meant to be seen by anyone else. They weren't just private between us. They were now out there for the entire world to see. And it wasn't just one picture. There were several, each one worse than the last. I felt sick. I was mortified, humiliated, and utterly betrayed. The man I trusted, the man I thought loved me, had shared something so personal with strangers, and I had no idea how many people had seen them. I didn't know who to turn to. It was like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. After the initial shock wore off, I knew I couldn't just let this go. I went through the proper legal channels and contacted a lawyer. I also made sure to take screenshots of everything, including messages he had sent to people about the pictures, and started building my case. The thing is, Tim wasn't just some random guy with no reputation. He worked in a high-profile position at a tech company, and he had a substantial online following due to his job. I reached out to his employer, explained the situation, and provided them with the evidence I had. It was a hard choice. I knew that exposing him could ruin his career, but I also knew that what he did to me was unforgivable, and I couldn't stay silent. It didn't take long before everything started to unravel. His employer immediately investigated the matter, and the public backlash against him was swift. News outlets picked up the story, and his personal and professional life fell apart. Within days, he was fired from his job, and social media was filled with people denouncing him for what he had done. At first, I felt a sense of relief. I thought I had done the right thing. I had exposed him for what he had done, and I wasn't going to let him get away with it. I had taken control of my life again, and I felt empowered. But then, things started to spiral. Tim started reaching out to me, begging for forgiveness. He apologized, saying it was a stupid mistake and that he never meant for things to go this far. He told me that he loved me and that he was sorry for everything. But I wasn't moved. The damage was already done. He had humiliated me, violated my trust, and ruined my life for a while. But then I began to feel the weight of the consequences. Tim's friends, his family, and even people I knew were starting to turn on me. They said that I had ruined his life, that I didn't have to go so far with the public exposure, that I should have just dealt with it privately. That's when the guilt started to creep in. Was I wrong for exposing him in such a public way? Was I selfish for focusing on my own pain without considering the damage it would do to him? Now I'm torn. I know what Tim did was wrong, and I don't regret standing up for myself. I think the exposure was justified, and he needed to face the consequences of his actions. But the people around me have been vocal about how I went too far. Some say I should have let it go or handled it quietly. Others say I shouldn't have gone public, that I didn't need to ruin his career. I'm not sure anymore. I never intended to ruin him. I just wanted justice. But now, I'm left with the consequences of my actions, a ruined friendship, a ruined career, and a complicated moral dilemma. So, Reddit, AITA for exposing my ex who shared intimate pictures of me without my consent, even though it ruined his career?